Does your dog hide from or try to attack the vacuum? Meet Enzo. Enzo was so scared of the vacuum that he would try to attack it when his guardians even walked towards it. I want to show you exactly what I did to change that. Enzo was a really interesting case to film with because I hadn't met him prior. His guardian follows me on Instagram and we've talked multiple times. She wanted to know if I could help Enzo while he was in my city for a visit. When she sent these videos and explained how bad his vacuum fear was, I was intrigued. She had tried numerous things, such as trying to give him treats when the vacuum was on, but he had no interest in the food once the vacuum existed. She also tried putting him in a separate room when she would vacuum, but he tried to attack his way through the door. Enzo was only going to be in my city for a few days, so I agreed to work with him for 3 sessions and see how much progress we could make. Day 1. Enzo was staying with another French bulldog from the same breeder named Juice. As cute as Juice is, when working on reactivity or aggression, it's really important to focus on just one dog at a time. Therefore, while I was working with Enzo, Juice would go and hang out in the office with his guardian. I wanted to keep Enzo under threshold so that we could make as much progress as possible, so he also went into the office while I went downstairs to grab the vacuum and film a few clips that we would later use for sound conditioning. Enzo's guardian had already taught him the marker word yes. Marker words are really valuable during dog training because they're used to mark the precise moment in time that the dog is doing something that you wanted and to promise a reward for that behavior so that your dog is more likely to repeat it. I suggest using a marker word because they can really speed up training results, so I'll link a video in the description that explains everything you need to know if you haven't already loaded one with your dog. Since Enzo already knew the marker word yes, I just loaded it a few times by saying yes and handing him a treat.
Yes.
I also decided on the target spot that I wanted Enzo to learn to stay while I vacuumed. You can pick wherever you want, but I do find that using a raised surface like the couch helps the dog feel safe and out of the way. We started our session with some sound conditioning to get Enzo used to the vacuum and to improve his ability to stay under threshold when he heard it. I pre-filled a snuffle mat with 5 to 10 tiny treats, and then I encouraged Enzo onto the couch where I ultimately wanted him to stay while I vacuumed. Next, I played the sound clips that I previously recorded for 10 to 15 seconds at the lowest volume on my phone. I previously filmed a much more in-depth tutorial about sound conditioning and how to do it properly with my dog Nira. I will also link that in the video description if it's a new concept to you. As I played the sound clips, I monitored Enzo for signs of stress, including stopping eating, yawning, or tensing up. I noticed that when he's stressed, Enzo gets very prominent piloerection up his back. If I did see signs of stress, I stopped the clip to give him a break. Then, as able, I increased the volume by 1 soundbar at a time. Within 1 session, Enzo was already tolerating about half real volume of a vacuum, which is much faster than dogs typically progress. To end the first day's session, I also started conditioning a new behavior of staying on the couch while the vacuum was moving. To do so, I again pre-filled the snuffle mat with a couple treats, I gave it to him on the couch, and then I walked over and picked up the vacuum. I like to start training using the snuffle mat because it continuously rewards the dog for offering the behavior that I want, and the treats help build a positive association to the vacuum. I knew that Enzo couldn't stay under threshold yet if I truly vacuumed, so I just pushed the vacuum around without turning it on yet. Occasionally, I would go back to Enzo and drop one more treat in the mat since he was staying on the couch like I wanted and he was being a champ. To start the session on day 2, I gave Enzo a pre-filled snuffle mat on the couch while I went to retrieve the vacuum.
Let's go, bud. On the couch. Good boy. No.
We then continued conditioning the vacuum sound until Enzo didn't mind it being slightly louder than the real level of a vacuum. Next, I did a warm-up rounds of Enzo on the couch with a snuffle mat while I again pushed the vacuum around with the vacuum still off. Whenever Enzo would glance up to watch what I was doing but chose to stay on the couch, I marked yes to let him know that he was doing what I wanted, and I added one more treat to his mat. Once that was easy for Enzo, and I could push the silent vacuum right past him without him flinching or trying to attack it, it was time to progress the difficulty. I began by playing the vacuum clip on my phone slightly lower than real-world levels as I pushed the vacuum across the floor. This intermediate step helps bridge the difficulty gap. Initially, I made sure that the snuffle mat stayed full, and then I slowly let it run out so that Enzo would be encouraged to look at me for a reward. I wanted him to get used to watching the vacuum, but staying put and staying calm. As long as he wasn't showing high signs of stress or an inability to choose to stay on that couch, I increased the volume incrementally until it was approximately real-world level. Then I briefly, genuinely vacuumed while marking and rewarding him for staying on the couch.
Good boy.
On our final day together, I encouraged Enzo to come to the basement with me to watch me collect the vacuum.
He said? Yes. Yes, good. Okay, upstairs. Good boy. Good boy. Okay, up going. Good boy. To your bed. Good boy. Okay. Now put that down there. Yes. Good. Okay. Ready? Come on. There you go. Yes. Yes, good boy. Yes.
I also want to point out that Enzo isn't fully relaxed. As a reminder, his yawning and that slight ridge on his back are signs of stress. I was increasing the duration between rewards slightly, but I wouldn't want to push him too hard when he's showing signs of stress. I purposely let the snuffle mat get empty as I vacuumed near him so he would again be encouraged to look up at me and watch what I was doing. My ultimate goal wasn't to distract Enzo while the vacuum was happening. I wanted him to actually be able to watch me vacuum and not care.
Do you go, Matt? Come on, Enzo. Do you, Matt? Do you, Matt? Yes.
By the end of day 3, I was really impressed because Enzo jumped off the couch to go get some water. He walked right past me as I vacuumed without a care, and he voluntarily went right back onto the couch.
Yes, good boy. Enzo, very good buddy. Yes, you are. Yeah.
Please hit like and leave a comment if you want to tell Enzo that he's a rock star. Regardless of what you're working on with your dog, make sure that you do celebrate your dog's successes and tell them how awesome they are.
Parkour! Parkour!
Considering how intensely aggressive and reactive Enzo was to the vacuum, I was blown away by how much progress he made in 3 short sessions. I passed along these clips and the process that we used to his guardian, and I encouraged her to continue to progress the duration between rewards as able. Eventually, when he's showing no signs of stress, I also wanted her to phase out that snuffle mat and just intermittently reward him for staying on the couch while she vacuumed. If you want to learn more about how to properly sound condition your dog or what threshold is, watch one of these videos next.